Morning, well I say morning, it's more lunchtime, but what up guys, it's your boy FPL Josh, and today we're just going to be doing a FPL stream, so yeah bro, let's get on with it. Today we're just going to be talking about how Game Week 26 has gone so far, and as you can see on screen right now is my Game Week 27 current wildcard draft. I am still debating whether I will have Pinnock instead of White and Kepa instead of Raya just to cover the 28 blank, with 10 players at least. So that is a debate. Just as I'd feel I'd have more doubles now. Sorry, more doubles in 29, sorry. We're doing it that way. I'm having someone who's going to double instead of White, essentially. But White could go to a Chelsea defender. Just for 29. But it's a debate. There's still quite a big debate in it. I do think Liverpool defence is worth considering for 29 as well. Luke Shaw's not a bad pick either. Next week, the captain debate is between Matoma, Tony and McAllister. I will not captain Kane for a single week, nor Haaland. I'll go against the grain on that one. McAllister is one of those captains where if he hits right and he bags, it could be a massive call. Just with his low ownership. I just think it's a big call though. Obviously, what did he get? He got a goal, he got an assist, and he got a clean sheet. I do think in a double week is necessary, but Matoma's, he's just being more consistent with 6, 10, 11. I know he blanked those couple, but then he got 13 out of nowhere again. And I do think he's the more consistent of the two. But it's hard because McAllister's on penalties, so he does edge it for me considering his ownership. He's so low as well, which means immediate rank gains, and he's a bit of a differential captain. I don't think a lot of people will be considering the captain of McAllister, to be honest with you. But it is hard. It's not an easy decision, which is why I'm putting so much thought into it, because it ain't an easy decision. It's a flip decision, to be honest with you, whether I captain Matoma, McAllister or Tony, but I fancy McAllister. I just know Matoma's in great form as well. I just think McAllister, like I've said, he's on penalties, so he does slightly edge it. But then Tony versus Everton and Southampton, where Southampton's defence is really weak right now. They're not in a great position. I wouldn't say Everton have fully come back from the dead. It's really going to depend on how they play today. And obviously, Southampton, I know they beat Leicester, but it was a slight win on the counter-attack, and I think just Tony will bag versus Everton and Southampton, but I do think he's going to be the template captain pick. And I think going with someone like McAllister is a non-template pick that's going to pretty much flow it out the window if he bags big. Estupinan I've gone for. Obviously, Veltman, Dunk are quite popular, but Estupinan, I just feel it gets him more good positions for those assists, and being the fullback he is, I think he's a better option. Raya's save points speak for himself. 100 saves this season, still going to get loads more Monday, tomorrow, and he keeps loads of clean sheets. He gets 10 pointers, he could easily get a 10 pointer versus Everton and a 10 pointer versus Southampton in that week, so I would be quite happy keeping Raya. Henry versus Pinnock is a bit of a debate. I think Henry's goal threat and assist potential is better for me. I do not feel the need to go for Ben Mee just because it's an extra 0.6. I just don't feel it's worth it with the money when you've got someone like Henry who's lower owned and a bit more differential. So if he assists or scores, it's more of a rank gain, which I think is a lot better. I'm playing Saka, obviously. Don't really need to talk about that. Haaland, template, Kane. Playing him because he's got Forest at home. I was debating doing Kane to Mbumo, so I'd have essentially 7 players who would double. But I just think Kane versus Forest still slightly edges Mbumo. Mbumo could be a good pick on this wildcard draft. I just do think Kane slightly edges it a bit more. It is still a hard decision, obviously. I've got 4 point in the bank. 4 point in the bank right now. And this is the team that's looking. So basically are Matoma, McAllister, Saka, Rashford, Haaland, Tony, Kane, Henry, Estupiñán, Trippier. Did I say that right? Yeah, Tony, Haaland, Kane, Matoma, McAllister, Saka, Rashford, Estupiñán, Henry, Trippier and Raya will play game week 27. And obviously I'd have Botman, White and Odegaard and Ward on my bench for game week 27. Game week 28, pretty similar except the 3 Brighton players will be benched. Obviously White will play, Odegaard will play, Botman will play. So Estupiñán, Matoma and McAllister will be benched. I'll play Raya. Haaland I'll have to play, he blanks. Rashford will blank. So essentially I've got 9 players playing game week 28. Where I think there's a way I could make it so I'd have more. But it would be more the case of doing Haaland out that week. Where I could take the punt to not have Haaland this week and have Mbeumo. And be very risky. And lose 3 points on Haaland. And just take the money risk and just hope Haaland doesn't bag versus Crystal Palace and Mbeumo works out as a decent pick, considering Haaland blanks in 28. And then essentially I'm bringing Haaland back in 29. Or I keep Mbeumo for the double and do Kane to Haaland in 29. So essentially, but it's whether I can take the risk of going without Haaland for this week against Crystal Palace. That is the problem. Because he could easily pull a hat-trick versus Crystal Palace out of nowhere. Pretty easily. But then it's like Mbeumo has got quite good threat and he's in a double week. So he's guaranteed 4 points. So you've got to look at it in that way, perspective as well. And Crystal Palace don't look rubbish. They look mediocre lately. They're holding Liverpool off pretty well for me. So I do think it is a close pick and close decision. But it's a hard one, I've got to say. By the way, boys, McAllister and Matoma will be my standout picks for Brighton. I do prefer Estupiñán to all the other defenders, but if you can't afford Estupiñán, I would just generally go for Dunk. Honestly, I'm still in here debating whether it's a possible move that I can do Haaland to Mbeumo for the 1 week, but I don't really want to risk it. And I think Kane versus Forest is better than Haaland versus Crystal Palace, but Haaland will destroy a lot of ranks for me if I was to get rid of him, so I don't really want to risk that either. There is an option of though not having Haaland for 27 and having Mbeumo, because Haaland blanks 28 and Mbeumo's got Leicester, and then bringing Haaland back in 29, or just doing Kane to Mbeumo. But if Haaland blanks 28, essentially I'd have 10 people who will play instead of having 9, as well as having a double this week instead of Haaland. It's just whether Haaland's going to go completely berserk and bag a hat-trick or bag 10 points versus Crystal Palace. That is kind of the risk I'm taking with going Mbeumo, if I was to do that. And I'm losing 0.3 money. Where with Kane, he's got Forest, but it's a less risky situation because I'm only losing 0.1 of my bank, and I'd have Mbeumo for the double week. Not really. Because listen to what I'm saying. I'd essentially have 10 players doubling on my team, 4 doubling on the bench, and Haaland. Well, no, and Saka. So I'd have 13 players double, but 4 will be on the bench boost, and 9 will be in the team. And I'd have Haaland back for Liverpool, which I think he could cause Liverpool a lot of threat, to be honest. And then I'd have him long term again. But then I'd be losing 0.3 in the bank. But it's just so I could have another double this week and have 10 people play next week, if that makes sense. That's kind of... Haaland turns into Mbeumo, who doubles versus Leicester and Southampton, and plays... Everton and Southampton, and plays Leicester next week. Well, not next week, the week after, for game week 28. But then, it's a case of, I'm going to have to bring Haaland back in. So, 29. As well as the fact I won't have Haaland for Crystal Palace. So, it is a hard one. I don't think it's something I'll do, but it's something I'm considering. At least. He's going without Haaland for this week. It's something I'm considering. That's what I'm saying. It seems logical and it seems like a good move. It's just whether I want to take the risk. And obviously, if I went for Mbeumo, I'd have to get rid of Rico, Henry or Raya. So I don't think that's what I'd do, to be honest. Whether Haaland could go to Watkins and then bring Haaland back in, I think I might just have to take it on the chin and have 9 players in 28, to be honest. I think I'll probably just have to take it on the chin. Obviously, Estupiñán, McAllister, Mitoma. Those are the definite 3 players I recommend from Brighton. I wouldn't touch Solly March. I don't really like to touch Dunk or Veltman because the defending risk is a lot more rotation than it would be with Estupiñán. Estupiñán won't get rotated because there's no one like him. So, and his assist potential, his goal threat, he's a wing back. I really do prefer him. I don't think there's any reason not to have Estupiñán this week. I think it would be a mistake not to have Estupiñán this week. I do prefer Rico Henry to Ben Mee as well. The reason with Raya 2 is Raya's averages at least 4 saves. Well, I'd say actually no, he averages 3 saves a game minimum. And the last couple of games he's been getting 5, 6, 4, 5, 7 saves. So he's been consistent with his save points, as well as getting clean sheets, and he's always picking up the bonuses 90% of the time because of how many saves he makes. If there was to get a penalty taken against him, I'd back him to save it. He's in a double week versus Everton and Southampton. I don't see him not getting minimum 15 points. That's his minimum. That's his floor, is 15 points for me. I think Matoma's floor in a double week is about 15 points to 20 points. I reckon McAllister gets probably a slightly more with about 20 to 25. And then Tony versus Everton and Southampton. I reckon he could get 2 versus Southampton and 1 versus Everton. So 20 to 25 points as well is probably the floor. Because I reckon between those games there's at least 3 goals for Tony. And I reckon Mitoma will get a goal and an assist in each game, as well as McAllister getting a goal and an assist in each game. But I think McAllister will pick up the bonus points. The only reason he edges it is because he's on pens as well. I think I'd back Estupiñán to get an assist as well. I think I'd back Brighton, to be honest, to score at least 3-4 goals in each of those games against Leeds and Crystal Palace. It is a tough one. Mitoma could be a captain option, like I said, but I do think McAllister's a great captain option. At the moment, though, my captain is on Tony. I will quickly jump over to how the team will look in 27 right now. This is what the team is currently looking like. The bench is very strong. Obviously, White could still go to Zinchenko. That is a move I'm considering, because Ben White might not start. But then Tomiyasu was crap, and Ben White did come on and score for this week. So he's the only reason, to be honest, that my week's not gone as bad as it has. I'm still, at the moment, I'm on 903k rank. I'm only on 19 points. Obviously, I've still got Raya to play, Tarkowski to play, Salah, Maupay, Rashford, and Shaw. So I've essentially got 6 players still to play. So it's not great, but as long as I reckon I end up on at least, let's say, 50 points, I'll be happy with that. It's a 31 off 6 players, which I don't think is a big ask, to be honest with you. Considering Raya should get a clean sheet, save bonus, there's 10. Rashford should get like 2 goals. Salah will probably get a goal. Shaw might get an assist. Tarkowski will get a clean sheet. I back Maupay to get a goal. I don't think it's bad asking for 50 points, to be honest with you. I'm just quite happy, to be honest, that I'm back on top of the league, and this wild card going into this week is going to be really beneficial. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard though. I don't regret not wildcarding last week. I think I do to an extent, because I would have had Mitoma and McAllister. Those are the ones I would have bought in. But then it's like, I was quite happy with what I was going into that week. And I wanted to see if there was any injuries. Whether I would have wildcarded 26 and injuries occur now. So let's say Tony or Raya or Henry or, anyone would have got injuries. then I would have been in a bad situation. So I think wildcarding into 27 is a lot better for me, because you're guaranteed pretty much those players for the double, and then you can work around with 28. I've got enough to cover the blank. 29, I've got enough doubling. I'll have a couple transfers to move things around. I'll have enough transfers to move things into 34, as well as I can bench boost 29. So I've just got to pretty much hope the international break doesn't come to the fact where there's a load of injuries for the players. But I don't think there'll be injuries to the likes of Matoma or McAllister or Estupiñán. I think the ones I'd more look at probably saying Tony won't probably play in the international break, and Rashford will, as well as Kane. So they're possible injuries. Same for Saka. Henry won't play. Raya should. Haaland obviously will, even no way even in it. And White will. Odegaard should. Botman won't. Ward probably won't. Trippier might. So I don't. Nah, there's a low chance of me getting injuries, to be honest, with this team in the international break. I'm quite happy as well with how the layout is. I was obviously going to wildcard 29, but I looked at it and I thought, you know, if I wildcard 27, I'm getting all the Brentford, all the Brighton double now, as well as I'm getting the doubles in 29, as well as I can bench boost 29. It seemed the better decision for me, long term. Seemed the right decision as well. Because that bench boost, one, it gives me 15 players, and if the ones on the bench are doubling and I've still got good players in my team, then I'm quite happy with my bench boost. Obviously, it would be nice to have 15 players doubling, but as far as I'm aware, I've got double, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 doubling there. Obviously, these 3 aren't doubling, so maybe switching White and Odegaard for players who do double in 29 would be sufficient. But then it's a hard thing to do. Kane obviously doesn't, but he's got Everton, so I can cope with that. Haaland's got Liverpool, I can cope with that. And the only really other things I think I'd want for 29, maybe go triple on the Newcastle defence and just go all in with the Newcastle defence, considering they have got Nottingham Forest. But it is a big risk if I go triple Newcastle defence. But then I'd have triple Newcastle defence for 29 when they've got us and West Ham. But I'd back them to keep the clean sheet versus West Ham. And I don't think we'd score a ridiculous amount of goals. So I don't think having triple Newcastle would be a bad idea. Or go for the likes of who else is doubling in 29? A Liverpool defender. That's not really a bad idea, but the problem is they blank 28. That is my only issue. So I do think having that transfer for 29 would be nice, because it does allow me to bring in another player who doubles. So that is kind of a nice thing for me, as I could go like Odegaard to the likes of Gakpo, you know, which does allow me to have another player who doubles. But it's like, you've got to think of it long term. As long as I've at least got, I think, 11 players who double in 29, and 4 on the bench boost, and 4 decent players, which would be like Kane, Haaland, Saka, and someone else, let's say Odegaard or something, I'll be quite pleased with that. It's just trying to be able to maintain that and get that for that 29. I'm more focused on the 29, 27's fine, and 28 I've just got to work around the blank, which shouldn't be too hard, to be honest, with a wild card. As well as still be able to have, obviously, all the doubles this week, which I think everyone's just going to have 6 people who double, and everyone's going to probably have Raya, Tony, Henry, Matoma, McAllister, but, well, Matoma. Not a lot will more have McAllister, because most have gone for March, I think. And Estupiñán is a bit of a punt in the dark, as far as I'm aware, he's not a ridiculously owned player. 7.9, yeah. I mean, Raya, he's most owned goalkeeper, but Henry's owned at 3.1. Tony's obviously ridiculously owned, but it's a big punt, and I like to be able to take that punt, because I think it'll pay off, to be honest. I think I'm at least got 20 points for Raya, 15 for Henry, 20 for Tony, 14 for McAllister at least, probably 15 for Matoma, 12 for Estupiñán, a Rashford decent haul, Saka will play good, Haaland will play alright, Kane will get a couple goals, Trippier will get a clean sheet. I'm thinking I'm putting the floor for this wildcard, the minimum points, at like 120 to 140 points. I think 100 points is the floor. That would be like the minimum. And I reckon 120 to 140 is doable. But for me, 120 to 140 is min, because I reckon that's what it will get. It's at least 120 points. But that's assuming everyone returns the way I suspect. Because if either they get like 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, captain, 6, blank, 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 6, that's still 102 points. And that's assuming Saka probably will score versus Fulham. Haaland will probably get a return. Kane will get a return. Rashford will definitely get a return. Trippier will keep a clean sheet. Estupinan will get a minimum, I'd say, clean sheet bonus, 11 points. With 1 clean sheet. With 2 clean sheets, I'd say 18 points if you get bonus, or 15 points. Matoma should at least get a goal and assist. That's minimum like 13 points, 15 with a double week. McAllister, same thing, there's 15 points. Rashford, I'd say at least 2 goals versus Southampton. Henry, I'd say there's a clean sheet, bonus, clean sheet, there's 15. Rare, I'd say there's a clean sheet, save points, probably add up to about 4. Then you've got bonus and bonus, which I'd say min's 2, so there's 20. With Haaland probably getting 1 to 2 returns versus Crystal Palace. But Tony's the better captain for me, because I reckon he'll get a goal versus Everton without the penalties, but penalty even more. And if he gets a penalty versus Southampton, and I think he'll get 2 in anyway in that game. So I think my team is very good, and I'm very pleased with how it's looking, to be honest. I don't think there's much more we can go on about with this team, so if you boys want to get in your questions, that'll be amazing. If you boys would love to get in your questions, that'd be great. Obviously, we have got Ward for Chelsea on the bench. We was looking at having Steele instead of Raya, and not having a Estupinan and having Pinnock. But then Raya is going to be more consistent. Estupinan is great assist threat, great goal threat. He's got all that potential to get goals and assists, so I'd back him to get 2 clean sheets, possible assists, bonus points, goals, all of that. Matoma, McAllister just goated. Rashford versus Southampton, we don't really talk about Rashford. As a United fan, I know he's going to get min 2. I reckon he'll get 2 goals today versus Liverpool because they're crap, and we're going to beat them 3-1, to be honest with you. Saka, I reckon we'll get a return versus Fulham. Most likely an assist, but if they get a penalty, that'd be nice because he's on it as well. Haaland should get at least 2 goals versus Crystal Palace, possibly just 1, but I'd reckon at least a goal and assist minimum is the floor, so about 10 points for Haaland's, 11 points is the floor, I'd say. Goal, assist, bonus, actually 14 points is the floor. Kane, I'd reckon to back him to get at least a goal versus Forest, possibly even 2. And then White and Odegaard on the bench. Obviously White, I hope he doesn't really do much. He'll get a clean sheet, but then Tripp will, and Tripp's got that assist threat versus Wolves, so I prefer him. Odegaard has got the goal threat, but I think Saka's just better, so I can accept having him on the bench. Botman, I know we'll get a clean sheet like him. Ward probably won't keep a clean sheet to Chelsea, so you've got to play that premium defender in Trippier. You can't play White. You've also got to play Saka as that premium midfielder. I know Odegaard's a premium midfielder, but Saka's better, so yeah. I do think, since there's no more questions coming in, we are going to end that up now, boys, because we have got to go to a football match, and I've got some football to watch later, obviously, so it was only a quick stream for today. And I will be back with you boys on Monday, tomorrow, to discuss further decisions with the wildcard. Yeah, and I hope you boys have a great day.